Hey, what is up, my YouTubian subscribers? Here to do my review on RWBY, Volume 5, Chapter 10, True Colors. Oh, yeah. Now, I think this is a decent chapter with a lot of issues. Now, if you don't know, first off, if you don't know, I do spoil the chapter, so that was my one-word review. Decent, but with a lot of issues. Now, if you haven't watched it, wait till Tuesday when it comes out on Rooster Teeth on roosterteeth.com if you have a membership there, or wait till it comes out next Saturday on YouTube. That being said, for the people who have watched it, on with the show. This chapter, it's hard to explain because my main issues come in the second half. So first off, we miss an entire exposition dump, which is probably for the best because three out of the major exposition dumps this year, out of the major exposition dumps this season, I think two mattered. I think the one first off, Ravens was a disappointment. Actually, you know what? I don't know. This one, we basically get Crow and Osmond talking, and it isn't Oscar, it's Osmond. Okay, it's Oscar's slowly losing himself to Osmond. I don't care what people say. He's eventually going to be fully integrated into Osmond, and he's possessing this kid. That being said, Osmond and Crow are talking. Crow laments that it's not normal. It's not normal that all these huntsmen and huntresses all die at once. So, yeah, he thinks it's Salem. He heavily implies it's Salem. Osmond replies with that sage, like, "Oh, humans are good. I believe in the inherent goodness of humanity." And I'm just like, yeah, okay, good for you. How about you question the guy who runs the Huntsman Academy here for a minute? Which they seem to be doing, which I like. Because then we get RWBY. Now, Osmond basically says, "Will you go get your classmates because Team RWBY, Team Juniper, go get them because we're going to have to talk about what's to come next." And RWBY basically says, "I just got one question. The Beacon Relic." And Osmond kind of chuckles. He says, "Very astute of you. I was wondering which one of you would bring this up first." And yeah, basically Osmond says that he hid the relic better than the rest of the relics. That doesn't mean that they should leave the Haven relic undefended, though. We then have RWBY kind of go, "I have one more question," and Osmond says, "Nah, it's not a relic. My cane isn't a relic, yo." And RWBY's like, "Okay, no more questions." And that's good because that confirms the theory that this proves the theory that all of us thought, which was that the freaking cane was a relic because of the top orb thing on top of it. Now, to me, first off, I've seen reviews that say that, oh, well, maybe why, if the maidens and the relics are two separate entities, why do they need the maidens to activate the relics or to get the relics? Here's my thoughts on it, okay, real quick. I think the relics are in a vault that only someone of a maiden's power can unlock. And I think that they've found a way to make the maiden's power activate the vault, essentially, is what I think it is. I think it's very similar. If you haven't watched Marvel's Iron Fist, basically what happens is there's a giant stone slab that took an Iron Fist to unlock because it was created by an Iron Fist. And that's what I think is happening here, that the maidens created the vaults to protect the relics, or that Osmond had the maidens create the vaults to protect the relics, I should say. And yeah, that's what I believe happened here, is that the vaults that hold the maidens are a third entity in this whole maiden relic debate. I don't think that the maidens activate the relics. I think they're the key to getting to the relics, is essentially what I believe. Now, where was I at? Oh yeah, okay. Leo Lionheart essentially calls Crow and says that they should meet up later. We then cut away to, and then as RWBY leaves, Crow and Osmond have one more chat, which is basically Crow saying that's weird. Osmond saying that's weird. that that Leo's sudden 180 on going after the bandit tribe is weird. We then cut away to Leo, who is with Raven Bronwyn, and they have a small back and forth wherein basically Raven and him both say they fled Ospen because well, Raven calls Leo a coward, that he's scared, and Leo says that Raven's just as scared, whereas Raven replies with, "Nah, I just didn't want to take part in a war we couldn't lose." And Leo says, "Call it what you want. It's being a coward." Or he doesn't say it. He implies it, I should say. We then cut away to the Belladonna house, and this is where my biggest issues go on. So, but first, I'm just gonna quickly describe the scene before I talk about the issues with it. Blake and Ilya have a clash. Blake is the superior fighter essentially. Blake could have ended this fight at any moment she chooses to. But what happens is Blake doesn't really want to fight, so she's fighting defensively. Ilya keeps trying to egg her on to keep fighting her at full power. She's like, just quit taking pot shots and fight me real. We then see Blake. Basically, Blake does one of the coolest things with this entire season, essentially, which is shoot Ilya's sword. Basically, Ilya's rapier or foil it's a whip, and the joints where the joints when they split apart to create the whip formation of her foil, Blake shoots in between them and freezes up her weapon. She's then able to knock down Ilya and pin Ilya to the ground, like Ilya's hands above her head and Blake's over top of her. We then have Ilya and Blake have an exchange too, which is basically what world are you living in that violence begets more violence is essentially Blake's standpoint. Ilya's like, well, then what's ever gonna stop the humans from hurting us, from beating us, from enslaving us, from treating us like cattle, essentially. And Blake has no response to that, which honestly, it's good. Like I said, it's very, very good. Blake then replies with, "Is this what your parents would want? Is this what they would want you to become?" And Ilya's like, "I don't know." And then Ilya breaks down. Now, if you don't know, the last chapter pretty much sets this up. Ilya doesn't want to be violent, but she sees it as a means to her end, which is good. As she's laying there, Gira throws Corsic, I'm gonna say. He throws one of the Fox brothers through the wall leading to Blake's chamber. The brother lands, and then we see Gira. Gira overwhelms the two brothers, and Ilya is able to separate herself from Blake. And like I said, Gira overwhelms the two brothers. It looks like basically what happens is Gira he just schools Corsic. I'm gonna say Corsic. And no, Finnick. He overwhelms Finnick. Knocks out Corsic and then fights Finnick one-on-one. Finnick manages to stab him in the back, but that's about it, because when he sees Blake and Ilya, he thinks the fight went the wrong way, and he yells out to Blake. When he turns to Blake, the Fox brother uses that opportunity to stab him in the shoulder. Blake then is like, "Dad!" And Ilya uses that opportunity to kick Blake in the stomach, separating them. We then have the second Fox brother attempt to attack Gira. Gira basically overwhelms him, and it looks like the hooded Fox brother attempts to fight him again, and Sun appears. Sun is able to casually outdo the Fox brother. We then have Gira yell to Sun, "Help Blake." And Sun, this is where I begin to question everything they've done with Ilya so far, which is basically what happens is Sun completely overwhelms Ilya. Now, to me, the fact that Ilya was able to even stand toe to toe with Blake and Sun in this chapter, and I get it because last chapter, but to me, it's not even a close fight. Sun basically Ilya is able to unfreeze her weapon. But it doesn't matter because Sun is just that much better than her. He's faster, stronger, more durable. He then knocks her to a wall, pins her, and like completely just boom slams her into the wall with enough force to create a small indent, collapsing or nearly collapsing the ceiling. Sun, as they're doing this, Sun does it again. He does it like 2 or 3 times, slams her into the wall, and then Blake yells "Stop!" and she's crying. And Sun and Ilya stop fighting in that moment. They look at her and I think they both like Ilya or both like Blake, so they both listen to her in that moment. Ilya's having a crisis of conscience, and Sun is just Sun. He's gonna listen to Blake. So what happens next is again another one of my issues with this chapter, and I'll talk about it once I'm done completely with this chapter. But Sun jumps back. Basically, the where Ilya was standing completely collapses on top of Ilya and Sun because Sun collapsed one of the support structures when he's slamming Ilya into the wall. Sun backflips out of the way of it, but Ilya can't get out of the way. Gira then protects her. Gira catches the ceiling from collapsing on top of Ilya, and so Gira struggling to carry this like small. Just here's my main issue. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna get over with this real quick. Gira struggles to carry it. The Fox brothers, basically one of the Fox brothers at this point is unconscious. Finnick's unconscious, and Corsic attacks Gira with his size. Now what happens here is essentially Ilya is able to get out from underneath the collapsed ceiling. And then as Corsic runs towards Gira, Blake throws her weapon, catches Gira in the stomach with it, wraps it around him, and then pulls him out from underneath the ceiling just as Corsic jumps into it. And so what happens is Gira's going out, Corsic's coming in, and the ceiling collapses on Corsic, killing Corsic. Confirmed he's dead. In this chapter, yeah, it's confirmed he's dead. There's an explosion just because I'm imagining the size that the Fox brothers use because they have dust in them. When the thing collapsed on him, it caused the dust to explode. Dead Fox brother. We then have a silent exchange between the three people when Mama Belladonna, aka Kali, rolls up. She throws Yuma, the bat faunus from the last couple of chapters, into the room unconscious, and then we cut away. We cut away to the Belladonnas basically leaving their estate. A large group of faunus are gathering in front of the now on fire Belladonna estate. Some of the guards are keeping people back when the police of Menagerie shows up. The police officer says, "I came as soon as I got the call," and that's when Blake finally snaps. Blake walks forward. Kali stops Gira from interrupting her, and then Blake shouts, "The faunus did this, not humans. The faunus did this. Let's stop acting like humans are the only ones capable of violence. And you know what? If we let Adam get his way, not just you, I know you're scared. You don't want your way of life to change. You don't want this war, but Adam's gonna have it no matter what happens." We then have people finally begin to side with the Belladonnas and Blake. First off, it's the Ox boy from a couple of chapters ago. He's the first one. He's like, I'll join you. We're gonna save Haven. Who's with me? The Ox boy's like, I'll join you. We then get a fish faunus or an aquatic faunus yell, I'll join you. We slowly but surely we get people joining her, and then Ilya says, I'll join you, and everyone gets quiet, and I'm like, oh, yeah. First off, to the people who are eventually going to say, oh, Ilya's redemption arc should have ended last chapter, it's like, no. Ilya's redemption arc works because she openly admits she's not one for violence, but it's the only way it's a means to an end for Ilya. and that all everything she said to Blake was to rile Blake up to try to fight her at her fullest, I imagine. That being said, it's good. It's good. I like it. We then have the police officer ask what the hell Blake thinks she's doing, siding with a White Fang member. And Gira stops him. Gira's like, she's learning a lesson that took me years longer than it took her. Which is the only way to beat hate is forgiveness. And I'm like, that's cheesy. That is super, super cheesy. Now we got 2 weeks. Basically what we got is now, instead of being a couple, basically what happens is in this chapter we confirm that instead of 1 month apart, the Belladonnas are 1 month or 2 weeks, a week and 6 days technically speaking, apart from Team Ruby and Team Juniper. Now, the next couple of chapters are gonna have to focus on Blake, which I don't like. If you don't know, I haven't made it a secret. I'm not a big Blake fan. I've found her storyline to be the weakest of the four main girls. I feel like her storyline, as we've gotten more information on her storyline, her character gets weaker and weaker. Whereas you look at someone like Weiss, she started this series as the stereotypical cold-hearted bitch, essentially, was what she started. And as we got more and more of her story, we learned more and more about... She became understandable. And then she became likable, and now she's Weiss motherfucking Schnee, who everyone likes. So, whereas Blake hasn't followed that path. At one time, she was one of the most popular characters in RWBY. Now she's arguably one of the least popular. And that should speak volumes. There are still Blake fans out there, and especially the Bumblebee shippers will do anything to defend Blake. That being said, as a non-shipper, as someone who doesn't care, Gilfish, I'm calling Gilfish out here. Go watch his reaction to volume 5 chapter 8, and you'll see that we got shippers who like Gilfish who just completely ignore any quality of the chapter because of Blake, and I don't agree with that. Blake is a weak character. I think she has strong moments, but overall is the weakest of the four main characters. I'd even go so far, she's one of the weakest characters in the series if you include Juniper into the mix, if you include Penny to the mix. So when we get a Blake focused chapter that's just meh, it's worse than meh in my opinion. It's a step down. We then have a fight scene that is at best okay, at worst subpar, because of the nature, like this, I don't know how it is that these animators can have a Pyrrha versus Cinder, an Emerald and Mercury versus Yatsuhashi and Coco, a Tyrion versus Crow, a Tyrion versus Team Ranger, a Nuka-Lave Grim versus Team Ranger, and then they have Blake and company versus Finnick and Corsic. And the speed, the strength, the durability, it's fast, it's cool, they're doing cool shit there. And then you have Corsic and Finnick with their ugly little size. They're extending size that are basically a smaller version of Ilya's sword. And I'm just... It's slow, it's clunky, it's just not a good fight scene. It's not. And I know people are going to defend it as, oh, it's okay, but it's not. There's a lot of issues. The fact that someone like Gira shouldn't struggle to carry a small portion of a ceiling, when we've seen Adam literally disintegrate robots on impact, when Yang collapsed an entire robot on impact, when we have Nora. And I know people are gonna say, well he has no aura, but we've seen Nora create a crater without aura. I think people are forgetting the Nuka-Lave Grim fight. Nora literally slams the horse head so hard it creates a crater. So no, this isn't... Aura doesn't explain why he would struggle carrying a small portion of a ceiling like that. Why two of Sun's clones would struggle to carry a small portion of a ceiling like that. Why it would kill frickin' Corsic when Corsic still has aura left. It's night vision. And I know basically in this fight, Ilya turns off the lights, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Night vision, yo. Am I the only one who remembers that Faunus have night vision? That Blake says that not just Faunus with traits that would have night vision in real life have night vision, not animals like a dog, or not a dog. I don't know. Cats have night vision, for instance. Most cats have night vision. They have a cornea that expands during the night to catch all sorts of light easier. And that's just very basic understanding on how cats have their night vision. But that's not the issue. Blake says in volume 1 that all faunas have night vision. That it's a trait that all faunas share. And then Lilia shuts off the light. And I know people are gonna say, well, she also darkened her skin. That wouldn't matter because it's night vision. She would still see the black splotch that was Ilya, because Ilya doesn't become translucent. If Ilya could mirror what's behind her to act as a camouflage, fine. I'd say like, oh, okay, if she's moving fast then Blake might not see her, but she's standing still in some instances. Oh my god. Oh my god. How can a fight scene make a chapter worse? And that's all I have to say is this chapter would have been infinitely better in the Monty era because his fight scene would have been awesome. Corsic Infinite, like, it would have been awesome with Monty Oldham. It would have been awesome if the writers took or the animators took some time to animate this fight properly to make it look cool. To the rule of cool, people will ignore, like the Nuka-Lave Grim fight, the Tyrion fight. No one pointed out that Tyrion and Crow should have ripped apart Onigiri, just based off of the fact that Crow was able to create craters on impact with winter. Nobody points that out because it was a cool fight. Nobody points out, except for the very, very, very stringent animation freaks. Nobody ever said that, Ren is technically running a 10-foot line and they just keep reusing that animation. Nobody says that. Nobody says that the characters are teleporting around Onigiri during the Nuka-Lave Grim fight. Because it was a cool fight. This isn't a cool fight. This is a very, very slow, clunky fight. And it should have been awesome. We had a volume and 2/3 building up to Ilya and Blake's confrontation, and it was slow, it was clunky, and like I said, outside of one cool moment where Blake freezes the fucking sword, it wasn't good. I'm sorry, if you like it, all the power to you. Like, comment down below. If you're watching on Amino, comment there too as well. Favorite on Amino, please and thank you. I'd appreciate it. Also, next week there's no RWBY, so I'd like to do a theory video. So if you have any theories you want me to discuss, comment section down below. Securage, signing off.